at the fucking Florida boys. But yeah, we're about to light the world on fucking fire because I'm popping down to Miami. We just got the place locked in. Bobby's over in Tampa with the other gentleman that we know. It's gonna be sick because
It's
the content. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
I was gonna say it's really the spot to be right now. If you're anywhere in, if you're in the United States and you guys know, there's really not many places better to be right now than South Florida. Just in terms of one, your your business structure, zero state tax. If you're an employee, if you're doing all that, you're getting zero state tax. It's one of the most friendly places to get permitting, places to get office space. One of the best spots to build a business in the whole country, in the whole world right now, in my opinion. But also sheer just the weather. You're gonna this winter. You guys thought Perlman was tan this summer. Wait till he gets a nice Florida winter under his belt, and then he's gonna come back looking crispy, looking caramel. And it's just, in terms of what we can do together now, bouncing back and forth, so many different spots around, the whole country or the whole state that we could bounce around and do different things. It's going to be really incredible.
yeah, it's gonna be sick. And don't forget the other best part about South Florida, the Hussolini. That's where the fucking that's where the finest ladies across the world come to vacation, come to live. You have all the Central American and South American honeys popping up from their fucking third world countries coming to Miami trying to find trying to find a multimillionaire boyfriend to bang them and pay for their rent. That's amazing. Then you have every girl across the U.S. who's fucking sexy goes to the South Florida school so they can be in bikinis all
They're
the time.
flocking to the water, flocking to the
Of
warmth.
course, as they should, because of course, if you're a Hussolini or even a good-looking guy like us, of course you want to go down to South Florida. You want to show it off a little bit. That's just what happens. That's just the reality of it. You're not gonna have all the Hussolini going to North Dakota in fucking winter coats and shit.
So something I was actually talking to one of our friends, Avatrilla, about
Trilla.
was that being in like where we live, and now especially Miami too, is that you have people that you haven't talked to in years going to vacation there, and then they see that you're there and they start hitting you up. And so I've been reconnecting with people that I haven't talked to in years just living here because they're coming down here to vacation for a week. They see that I'm here. They want to know a restaurant spot. They want to go to the beach. Even last time you were down here, we connected, right? So being in a spot like that is where people go to vacation, where people are all just going to go for the weekend. Is you're going to have opportunities to reconnect with people, meet more people. That's a whole nother aspect of it.
That's a great point. Yeah, living somewhere where people are gonna go vacation, you're gonna see everybody all the time. That's why I love Miami because now that I'm gonna be down there, I already have everybody telling me, "Oh, I'm coming down this week. I'm coming down for a week. I want to come down in this month. This month." The Hussolini, I've already had a couple Hussolini say the same thing. "Oh, you're down in Miami. Can I come visit?" I'm like, "All right, let me look at flights. See what I look at flights. See what we can do here." But the one, unfortunately, she's gonna have to get pushed off for a bit because I got Beezy, Breezy coming down that week that she want to come down. Bowers coming down in September. I'm like, all right, gotta get the gentleman in before the Hussolini.
Yeah, let the gentleman get acclimated to the climate
Yeah,
first.
yeah, yeah. Hussolini, you could stay in Indianapolis for this this month. That's where she's from. I met her from the Ingy 500.
Sheer race car thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was in the fucking cockpit, whatever they call it. It's the fucking crew that changes the tires.
The crew.
The
Oh no,
crew.
that's the crew chief. She was the crew chief.
She was Chief
Oh,
Ting.
the pit crew.
That's what it is. Yeah, yeah. We had it backwards. The pit crew. So she was part of the pit crew. I picked her up. No big deal. Where the fuck was I even going with this? Oh, okay. One good point that I brought up to people too. The best thing about South Florida and Miami specifically is being around people with money also attracts more money to you. Because I was just talking about this with somebody the other day. I'll give you an example. So I just did a mentorship for people that aren't in my insurance brokerage that still want to get mentorship development from me. I have a mentorship program that they can pay for, and then they get to have access to me during the day. And people in Miami, I've noticed, are so much more willing and able to pay for things like that, $10,000, $15,000 in one clip. This is what I'm charging for this mentorship. And they're able to afford it because they're in Miami, right? So my point is when you go to cities like this that are high expense, high standard of living, etc., the people there are also making more money and have more money, more disposable income. So when you're around people who have money, you're going to make more money more easily because people have it to spend. When you're in places where everybody's broke or they don't have the fucking mindset to have abundance, have extra money, they're not going to be able to pay $10,000, $15,000 to you. So it's important just for business in general to be surrounded by people who have to have money in a place like Miami.
Yeah, that's big. I did notice there's a lot of those mentorships, and especially in the crypto industry, a lot of people are down there in Miami and they offer those types of things, mentorships. They want, you want to learn crypto and different things like that. They offer a lot of mentorships down there. What do they call those? Like masterminds. They have
Oh
like
yeah.
mastermind events down there as well. So many opportunities in that realm.
Yeah. And so that's why I love it because you're around people who aren't desperate. They have things to offer. They have things to offer. They can actually pay for things. So then naturally you're going to become richer because you're able to command that type of wealth if you have something to offer. If you have something of value to offer, yeah, you're going to be able to get that money. But when you're in, Indianapolis or fucking Pittsburgh or wherever the fuck, people aren't walking around with $15,000, $20,000 just to spend on mentorship. They're just fucking, they're not worried about it, nor do they have it for the most part.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, great opportunity. Great. It'll be great to get some content on there. I'm sure we could come up with some great ideas in the cities and in the cars.
Oh,
So
we're gonna have the cars ripping. I'm gonna get something new in the first couple months when I'm down there. It's gonna be fucking nice. A little upgrade from the GT, but I'll still have the GT so we can get back to back whips, just fucking
the
cruising.
dualies,
Yeah, the dualies.
the driving in Miami though, I don't know how much you're gonna be moving.
Yeah, that's the AIDS part about Miami is I'm not gonna be able to open that bitch up. I'm gonna have to get out the city and go fucking mainland Florida for the drives.
Yeah, you have to hit Alligator Alcatraz to
Yeah.
get some speed.
Pick up Jose from from Alligator Alcatraz.
All right, so one of the topics that I wanted to bring up today, and I don't know if you saw this, but it's kind of a thing going on. This is something that happens in across the United States in different regions, but there's a gerrymandering debate going on right now in Texas.
Uh-huh.
If for people watching that don't know what gerrymandering is the redrawing of district lines in for congressional purposes. So Senate and I believe more towards House of Representatives, they have their unique districts that people vote in those districts for their Congress members. And they have the ability to redraw these lines when they see fit after elections. They say, hey, this district was majority Republican, but it's condensed for the sake of this argument for Texas was San Antonio area. So I wish I had a picture of the map of this district because it's ridiculous. This is the city of San Antonio, right? The district starts in the middle of San Antonio like this and goes straight out, right? Straight out along a highway. And the highway goes for about 95 miles, and the district continues until it gets to a suburb of Austin, Texas. So it goes about 95 miles along this one street. It's probably about like a 2 mile, width, but then it goes up like 95 miles to the suburbs of Austin, Texas. So the leaders in Texas, the Congress in Texas, they want to redraw this district. Well, the controversy comes because this district right now has a couple Democratic elected officials, but if they redrew the district, two of those Democratic officials would lose their seat, and then two other ones would have to go to a re-election. So where they think outside of Austin, Texas, and the suburbs, and outside of San Antonio, they think that Republicans would win that district easily. So they had a vote on Monday morning. That was the first thing they were going to do on Monday morning. They were going to vote to redraw the districts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Democrats knew that they were going to lose their seats, and they also knew that they were going to lose the majority vote to go to a redrawing of the districts. So what did they do? They didn't show up on Monday morning, and they got on a flight to Chicago, Illinois. Well, I don't know what they call them, but the head of the Senate or the head of the Congress there in the state of Texas put out an arrest warrant for them to bring them back to Texas to vote on this. So right now there's an outstanding warrant for these senators or Congress people, House of Representatives out of Texas to come back to Texas to vote on this.
Good.
So, with that being said, though, Texas isn't the only state this happens to. So, why do they flee to Chicago? Well, Chicago is also one of the most gerrymandered states in the whole country, or Illinois is. So, a stat that I saw is that Republicans won 45% of the vote in the past election, the presidential election in Chicago, Illinois, but they only have four out of the 30 representative seats in the country in the state. So that's how gerrymandered these things are, right? And so now California is getting involved and saying, okay, if Texas is going to redraw their districts, we're going to redraw our districts as well to go the other way to help California. So where it gets interesting is that Donald Trump said that if California goes to redraw, he's going to block and veto. So the president has the power to block and veto these redrawings of districts. But of course, he's not going to do it to hurt the Republicans, right? So this is kind of the battle going on now is that these governors have the power to redraw districts. The president has the power to veto them all. But who is actually going to come out and, who's going to win these battles? So Texas, I think it's going to be clear that they could go in the Republican way. But now California's government is going to try to redraw the other way. So now there's like this battle, this push pull, and then when is President Trump's obviously going to have to step in at some point and be like, you guys are acting crazy, and then it's probably going to be on California because they should be going the other way. They should be redrawing for more Republican beneficiaries, but that's not going to happen with uh, Gavin
New
Newsom
scum.
in charge.
New
Yeah.
scum.
So very interesting political theater. It's actually very important because you elect your House of Representatives and your senators based off your district that you live in. So if you live in a district like this one, I don't know what district it is. It's actually that Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah, cock it.
That's her district, and she could lose her seat. So that's why so you see these Democrats coming out saying that they don't want to do this in Texas. So very interesting. If you live in those districts, it's actually very important to you. It's one of your votes that matter, and it can completely wash people's votes away if your district is redrawn to the center city of San Antonio, but you live in the suburb of Austin, Texas. It's not the same thing. It shouldn't be the same district. So people should pay attention to this and understand how your district is drawn to not be gerrymandered, something like that.
Isn't that incredible? The fucking finesse, the games that they play with their fucking politics. First of all, I got to say this again. Pompino and MAGA with the Epstein fumbled. So I'm out on the whole MAGA and all that shit until they fix the Epstein thing. So just for everybody's, knowledge, until they release Epstein and they admit what the fuck was going on with that, I'm fried on MAGA. But in terms of the Republican, Democrat, all this shit, number one, yeah, they should arrest people who flee and don't vote on these things because that's the big fuck you for these people to the people in their state. They think of it as it's Democrat versus Republican. If you're Republican, you're the enemy, even if you're a citizen of that state, country, district, whatever it may be. It's fuck you, you piece of shit, you're different from me. When in reality, the elected representatives should be representing everybody, regardless of what your political party is. It doesn't matter what your party is. You represent everybody because it's an elected official. So if you win by majority, you represent everybody, not just your party. That's the mindset that's fucking stupid with these people now. Is it's not about the American people. It's about the teams that we're fighting against each other. We're not on the same team. When in reality, we are all on the same team. It's just fucked up. So then people in the Senate, people in the House, people in these state things, they don't vote. They flee the state. They do these fucking things where they're not actually performing their duty. Their duty is to vote on this. You don't flee to Chicago. It's good that it's probably Abbott, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Craig Abbott.
That put out the warrant for their arrest because, yeah, you have a civic duty. You fucking ran for office. People voted for you. You got in. Do your job. You don't flee to Illinois because you don't like the fact that you're going to lose a vote. That's not how it works. It's fucking sore losing. Just because you're going to lose the game doesn't mean you forfeit and quit and walk off the field.
So how he was actually able to issue a arrest warrant was that he is hitting them with a bribery charge, saying that something in Chicago is bribing them to go there and not vote on what their job, right? You wake up Monday morning, you go do your job, right? That's what you're supposed to do, especially as an elected official
Right.
of the state of Texas. So he's hitting them with a bribery charge, saying that they're going to Chicago, they're being bribed there to not vote on the vote that they're casting out. I actually found the map that I'm talking about.
Fire.
I'm gonna send it to you, so just so you have an idea of like how ridiculous this thing looks.
You can probably share it on the what's it called? Share it on the Zoom.
And I had it saved on my phone because I liked it because I just
Fire.
went to my ex real quick. But
I see it. Yeah, what the hell is that? It looks like Italy. What kind
so
of drawing is that?
yeah, absolutely ridiculous that they drew that in the first place.
That's the district for San Antonio?
One of them, yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you just put it around the city? I mean, I know why they wouldn't, but I'm saying that would be the fair thing to do. Just put people in the district that actually are similar to each other. Yeah, that's
That's how
fucking
95% of the districts are drawn around the United States, right? It's like your center city is more it's more densely populated. You have more diverse people in there. You have white, black, Hispanic, all kind of living together. And then as you get to the suburbs, it gets more rural. It obviously gets more conservative and it gets more Republican for that matter as you get out of the cities and you're in the more rural areas of Texas, especially. So yeah, it doesn't make sense to draw a district pretty much two center cities. Um,
that's so
it's
wild.
it's kind of crazy.
And the center city's got all the gays too, so they're gonna have a lot of gays. Austin has the ultimate gays. They sent all the gays from California to Austin.
Yeah, so that's another aspect of trying to get to center cities, but then not it's like the one strip, trying not to get the outskirts of the city involved in the voting.
That's so fucking ridiculous.
So with that being said, like the center cities have more congressional votes, so they have more congressional leaders that go to Congress and cast votes on things. So obviously they're trying to get San Antonio center city, and they're trying to get Austin, Texas, with this district. Uh, what's her name? Jane Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett.
J Jasmine Betty Crocker. They got her. They got her in there, and she's probably going to lose her seat once they redo this. So
No, not
she'll
that
be.
thing.
She won't be running for president anymore.
Imagine her being the leader of your political party. Fucking Jack. She's so obnoxious. So obnoxious. The way that she speaks. I mean, we were talking about this before. It's the way that she speaks. I mean, it's just not. Nobody wants that as their leader. Who looks at that and thinks, oh yeah, Jasmine. Oh, she talking all ghetto and shit. No, be a professional. It doesn't matter what background or what color you are, etc. No, be a professional. Speak well. Be articulate. Have great ideas. Argue your point. Don't be a fucking talking ghetto and shit and having city girls shaking their ass up on stage. That was the other thing with Kamala. They had fucking what's her face, Meg the Stallion, at the one rally doing
Body, body, yada, 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 yada.
yeah, shaking her ass and shit. It's like this is your fucking leadership. It's like I understand pop culture, people shaking ass, but that's your politics. That's who you're trotting out on stage for you guys to represent your party. Meg the Stallion. Wow, get the fuck out of here. This is insanity. So, yeah, it's interesting. The political game is a completely different realm, a completely different sphere that people play all these games and to be able to gain control because there's so much that goes into it. The power, people live and die for that. And so it makes sense why they go to such extreme routes to try to maintain the power that they have in their states, in their districts, in the Senate, in the U.S. government. Because, and here's the other thing too, is it gets exacerbated over time because everybody's trying to do things to each other. So when the Democrats does something, the Republicans are going to react by, oh, well, now we got to do it. And then when the Republicans do this something, then Democrats are going to react, oh, we got to do something. So it just becomes more and more outrageous as time goes on because one side's never going to be able to say, oh, well, that's too much. We're not going to take it there, even though they're doing it. It's always going to be, well, if they're doing it, we have to do it because you can't lose, which I get it. Because if you lose it, then you're fucked.
That's a good word to use, losing and winning. This isn't about, people might say, oh, people that live in California might say, oh, well, it's not fair that Texas is doing that. Well, it's not about being fair anymore. It's about winning. Like the Republicans have the power now. They have the presidency, they have the judicial branch, they have Congress right now. They're not trying to play fair. They're trying to win and they're trying to dominate why they have the upper hand right now, right? So they're gonna do things like this. They're gonna redraw the maps in Texas. They're gonna block California from redrawing their maps, right? It's not about being fair anymore. They're trying to win while they have the chance. So you just have to be wary of that, right? And as bad as it is, it's gonna go the other way when the other, well, I mean, it has gone the other way for the past 4 years of judicial lawfare and things like that. So it's not about being fair. People are going to say, "Oh, that's not fair that Texas could do that." Well, they're not playing fair. They're playing to win right now. That's just how it is right now.
Yeah, they are planning to win. And same thing with the other side's going to do the same thing. Whenever Biden was in power, Biden was sitting there brain dead, and they had the auto pen cracking off, taking away
Yeah.
all of the fucking executive orders from Trump from the last presidency. Took all those away at first, then flood the border, flood in the drugs, do all the bullshit. Yeah, of course, everybody's going to do what they can whenever they're in power. That's a part of the game. And this is a topic we talked about in the past too. Is don't try to rethink how the game should be played. Don't try to change the rules. Don't try to be the guy who tries to reason through everything with logic and why it should work a different type of way. No. Understand what the game is. This is the game. This is the game that we play here in the US. Cool. How do we win? How can we benefit from the game? How can we move in a way where we're going to be able to make more money, get more power, have more influence as these people are playing this game? What do we do? And then you can only prepare yourself for the future as well in terms of financially, your sovereignty, your ability to move across the world. So in the case of crisis taking place or somebody getting into power that's going to be trying to throw somebody like us in jail, you got to be ready to take on those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another big next step with these district redrawings and kind of some points that you touched on for the Republicans to win. And I think what their plan is ultimately to get to that. I don't know if they do a census. Is it every 5 years or every 10 years they do a census? Every 10
I
years,
think
I
10.
think, right?
Yeah, 10 years.
So the next US Census is coming up, and I believe like what the Republicans are trying to do over the next 4 years is to redraw the districts in their favor, deportations, getting people that are not supposed to be on the US Census out of the census. And then that'll be even more in their favor, I think. So then the next election or the election after that, they're really going to try to win again and again and again. So I think the next big step is that U.S. Census coming up. I don't know when the last time they did a census. I want to say 2020 maybe, but the COVID one, who knows how much they screwed that up. So yeah, that's big. A census is another thing that redraws how many congressional seats a district gets and how much state. It's actually big for the Electoral College, how many Electoral College votes a state will get based on its
True.
um,
Based off descent.
population. So, states like California that have probably millions of illegal immigrants living there, if you could get a lot of them out where they're not supposed to be there or redraw the districts, and then it comes for presidential election time, and they could take a couple electoral votes away from California and give them to a place like Texas. Now they're just playing on a different level of moving around electoral college votes, and that's ultimately how you win is you have to get the electoral college votes. So I think they're setting this up for the next elections in the future of being able to win.
Very interesting. Another thing that's important about the immigration too, that I can see why the elites are for it, of course, is yes, it's going to be cheap slave labor. People are going to be able to work for under the table, under minimum wage, send it back to their home countries. That's fine. The other thing with the immigration is it does make sense for population collapse too. Why there is and could potentially be a push for having all these illegals come into the country, because as the birth rate continues to drop, it's going to destroy our nation and all the other Western nations. And a big problem that China is going to have too is also going to be the population collapse, because that the one child policy where families could only have one child. I mean, I'm talking about fucking devastating to your future country. The the battle between the US and China over the next 10 to 20 years is going to come down to the population collapse. Who can actually maintain population growth versus who's going to lose it. That's going to determine the economic power moving forward, because people at the end of the day is going to be the most important part of GDP, of the wealth of a nation. Well, not people and wealth. You got to have both. Because India obviously has a shit ton of people, then they don't have a lot of wealth. China, way more people than the US, but not as much wealth. but they're coming up on us. We have a lot of people, but we're clearly the richest, right?
Yeah.
So I love the route that Trump and the right is going, which is, as opposed to importing all of our humans and importing our population and completely changing the demographic of the nation and destroying the nation culturally, which is a bad idea, right? They're going the route of, well, how about we just have families? How about we just have more children? How about we put people in a position where it's actually makes sense to have kids, as opposed to making them feel like they could never afford children? Which, by the way, yes, you can afford children. People who are in the fucking actually poorer people have more children than rich people, which is why it's funny. So
Yeah.
it's not that you can't afford kids, you just don't feel like having kids. That's the reality of it. I tell that to girls all the time. I always ask them, so how many kids do you want? One, two? Two? What do you mean two kids? Why two kids? Well, because it's going to be a lot of work. Yeah, I know. It's just going to be a lot of work to have a lot of kids. Okay, so you don't want to have kids because it's inconvenient to you. What the fuck? Oh, yeah, well, I don't want to do the whole fucking point of you being alive is to have children. And you don't feel like having more than two kids because it's too much work. What the fuck? That's the whole fucking point. Anyways.
That's why the girl boss movement sucks. It's like that's not what women did. Think about the baby boomers, right? What were their moms doing? These guys were out working one job, making $80,000. They had two cars, they had seven kids, they were putting them all through college, all of this. That's what we need to get back to, and that's
Yep.
what we could get back to is that economic, like we had such good economic prosperity that guys were able to have five, six, seven kids while their wife stayed at home and took care of the kids. We don't have
Absolutely.
that anymore.
You're right. And I feel I can understand why women feel the need to be working. I get it
Hmm.
because economically, yeah, it's difficult for a man nowadays to just have a job that can take care of a family that big. It is. I get that. I
Hmm.
sympathize with that. So it is difficult. But for the women that think that they should just go out and be career ladies and never stop working and never quit their job to take care of their kids, all this shit, you're fucking wasting your time. You're going to get no fulfillment out of doing that long term. What do you think is going to be more fulfilling for a woman? The fact that you're 60 years old and you have 8 children and 30 grandchildren, all who love you, come to see you all the time, Christmases, all these things, or no children, no family, but you worked a fucking job.
I know that's how it blows my mind when I hear people say they don't want kids. I'm like, well, what else are you gonna do? What are you gonna do when you're 60 years old? Like, what else are you gonna do? You're gonna go to the club? You're gonna, go like, what are you gonna do?
Exactly. Having no children is fucking blasphemy. It's a waste of the blessing of life that you received. It's a
Mhm.
disrespect to God himself to say, "Oh, thank you God for giving me this life, this opportunity to breathe air, to experience this beautiful life that we have." But I'm not going to give that experience to anybody else. I'm not going to contribute to society as a net positive at all. I'm simply going to come, I'm going to be born, I'm going to consume, I'm going to enjoy myself, and then I'm going to die and completely destroy my entire bloodline for the last 200,000 years. Like a
I'm
fucking
gonna
idiot.
I'm
Fucking
gonna scroll
moron.
Instagram Reels until I'm 85. Just watch Instagram Reels all day.
Yeah, upload me to the dashboard and put me in the fucking AI. I'll just fucking keep doom scrolling in my death. What the fuck, bruv?
So to go back to your point about China, and I think this is where things get interesting, like you said, over the next 10, 20 years, is because China is powered by manufacturing and manpower. They need people to run these plants and they need people to create all these things that run their economy, right? They're built off cheap labor and manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when they get to the point where they can't run these manufacturing plants anymore? Well, I mean, obviously they'll have help with AI and robotics coming up, and I think they're more equipped than other countries to do so. But what happens when that population does take a decline and these skills that people have done for them over the past 100 years or so in the manufacturing and all that kind of stuff? What happens when that takes a step back and they have to go the route of the United States of being more of a service-based economy, creating tech and creating kind of ideas and creating film, art? What happens when they have to transition to that side of things as opposed to the cheap manpower that they've had the luxury of having with this 1.2 billion person population?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because in China, to that point, China hasn't even completely industrialized. Not their whole country. It's pockets of it that are industrialized. China still has a huge population of just completely destitute farmers, people living in the just shitting and on the ground and fucking holes, and so they still have that too. That's the thing, is they haven't even been able to fully first world their entire country the way that the US has. The US everywhere is, you don't have, a completely different group of people just living out on farmland who have no sewage, plumbing, electric, that kind of shit, that how they do in China, the mainlanders. But yeah, that transition is where I believe that China in the long term is going to start to fall back behind the US again. In the next 10 years, China should be able to continue to creep up on us, because we have to fix our fucking industrial base. We have to fix our industry. We've got to bring wealth back to the nation as opposed to sending it out. Hopefully Trump can keep this for the next 4 years with the tariffs and money coming in, and then the 4 years after that with Vancino, hopefully. But where China's going to falter is, like what you're saying, is when they have to get to that next level of economy as their population is also collapsing at that point in time. I don't see how they're going to be able to continue to surpass the US economically and as a world power, because as a service-based economy sounds good, but that, how are you going to do that with the declining population, declining people to be service-based, and then who are you going to serve? All the old people who, like, it's yeah, I don't see it happening. They're going to have to fix their shit. But China's also going to do radical things. They could do radical things. They did a one-child policy. They could do a four-child policy. And so you have to have
four. Yeah.
That's what the U.S. should do. If you get married, you should have 4 kids. Or, I mean, you shouldn't force anybody to do anything, but you should give incentive to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of are, right? Aren't they doing tax relief now for people? Each kid now, you get a certain amount of tax deduction off your tax return. I'm pretty sure I saw them. I think it's like 7,000 maybe or something like that. The U.S. is implementing that with the big beautiful bill. So the more kids you have, the more tax incentivized you are, which is great. But I saw what's his name? The NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
So a reporter asked him kind of about the AI race, the crypto race with China, and the question was very like point blank, like, is the U.S. going to beat China over the next 10 years in the AI race? And he's like, this isn't a 10-year race. He's like, this is a multi-generation, long lifetime race. He's like, we're not racing for the next 10 years. He's like, we're racing for the next 10 generations to be able to be. He's like, this race is not going away anytime soon. And that kind of like put it into perspective to me. Like, listen, yeah, right now it's very heated, right? It's a heated race. It's the AI boom. We're going to be able to have unlimited amount of AI workers building things, robotics coming up in the next 50 years. But what happens after that? And that's like what we're talking about is once we get to that point, who's going to take the lead? And I think we have a lot of smart guys in our country who are going to be able to set us up for that. Elon Musk, this guy Jensen. So yeah, the race is not a 10-year race. It's not a 20-year race, but it's a multi-generational race over the next couple hundred years.
Mm-hmm. And you got to incentivize these guys to want to do business in the U.S. That's why you can't tax them into oblivion. That's why you can't litigate them to death. That's why you can't throw them in jail. You have to create a society, a country where these people want to come and innovate. China, the downside that they have is that they don't protect intellectual property. They don't do copywriting. They just steal everything. So as a business owner, you're less incentivized to go run your business in China if you're operating out of a different country. So the advantage that the U.S. could have is, well, we're not going to litigate, but we do. That's the issue. But we do litigate billionaires and millionaires to death. But we do destroy people financially in the U.S. if they don't do the things that we like, etc. You can't do that. The reason so many people go to Dubai is because no taxes on your business. They're not going to throw you in jail for, I mean, they'll throw you in jail for different shit, degenerate shit, which is fine.
Yeah.
But business-wise, all these millionaires and billionaires go there because they know they're not going to get thrown in jail because they're, the owner of Telegram, right? And they throw him in jail when he goes to France because he won't let the French intelligence services tap into the back end of Telegram to spy on people. In Dubai, he's fine because they're not going to throw him in jail for that. But in France, he's not. So how are you incentivizing these guys to come to your country and innovate if you're going to throw them in jail because they don't do something illegal for you because you want
Yeah, that's
power?
crazy. That's
Of
crazy.
course you're gonna push these people away. The one other point I was gonna make, I've said this before, but I want to say it again. The incentives, right? The tax incentives to have people to do things. This is why I don't understand why you give tax incentives to gay people who get married, right? Legally through the government. Because if you have a marriage status, you get tax reduction on your, you get to claim on your taxes for that.
Hmm.
People want to get married that are gay. Fuck yeah, go get married somewhere. But legally, to give somebody a tax incentive for being married when they're gay doesn't make sense because there's no value in that marriage for society. It's like they could be married, but why would you give them a tax incentive? Because they're not going to have children. The idea of giving people who are married a tax incentive is to encourage families, right? So instead of giving tax incentives to people who are not going to provide for society more people, more families, instead of having those people miss out on their taxes, move that incentive to people who are actually going to have families. If that makes sense.
Are you saying like a married filing jointly thing?
Yeah, because
Like to
if people married or if people are married and filed joint, don't they get tax incentives for that for being married?
they get they get like deduction of filing jointly. I don't know what incentives they would get. I'm trying to think.
You would know better than me. I thought that when you have people who are legally married, it's
Yeah,
in
you get to file jointly. So like your tax returns are one
okay.
as opposed to just filing individually. I'm not sure what other incentives you would get with that.
I might be completely off mark then. Let
No,
me
I
look.
don't. I'm thinking of child tax credits. You get, loan interest tax credits on a mortgage. You get vehicle tax credits now, EV tax credits, certain things like that. I'm not sure what other kind of incentives. I'm not married, so I don't know what kind of incentives the married filing jointly gets as opposed to individual.
I got it right here. All right, so yes, being married can offer several tax benefits, particularly when filing jointly. Here are some of the key tax advantages. Beautiful. So lower tax rates when you file jointly, and larger standard deduction.
Yeah, okay. Standard deduction. I definitely knew that one.
So when married individuals file jointly, they often qualify for lower tax brackets than they would as single filers, potentially leading to a lower overall tax bill.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Married couples filing jointly also receive a significantly higher standard deduction compared to single filers. For example, in 2024, the standard deduction for married couples filing is 29,200 compared to 14,600 for single filers. And then when you're filing jointly, whenever you're married, you have access to valuable tax credits, earned income tax credit, low child tax credit, child independent care credit, education credits, adoption credit, and then retirement savings benefits, blah, blah, blah. Anyways,
Yeah.
so I thought so, yeah. So basically, if you do file married, you get extra benefits. So my point is so why are you giving those benefits away to people who aren't actually creating the value that you think would come with people being married? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a situation that we've talked about before. That's, why a lot of people do get married is for those advantages, for those tax advantages. And that's really one of the only reasons people do it nowadays, especially what you're talking about. So yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. For me, I don't even see. I understand the advantages, but for me, the cons outweigh the pros for getting legally married. Now, you could of course do a prenup. What do you think? What's your thoughts on a prenuptial agreement? What do you think?
I think they're very needed for some individuals. Some individuals, I'll say, if you build your wealth with somebody, right? If you get with them, when you're young, you're 20, 22, right? And then you end up making money in your late 30s, right? It's not needed then because you kind of built that together. Sure, it's you helping each other out while you're broke, right? If you have no money and you help each other out, that's great. You build a life together. And then, you get separated down the line. That's when it gets a little iffy. It's like, all right, now you got to have an attorney there. It's like, okay, this is my money, this is your money. But for someone, let's say like a guy like Jeff Bezos who just got married recently, I'm 100% in favor of him signing a prenup because he built that wealth over the past 20 years with a different woman even, right? And now he's meeting this new girl and he's going to get married to her. Yeah, he's definitely going to want to do that, right? So I think it's completely up to the individual and how their situation is. But I think if you're broke, you have no money when you first meet this person and you guys are dating, um, and then you start even making money before you get married, right? If you say you have a couple $1 million and then you do decide you want to get married, it's up to the person to decide. It's like, did you make this money with them or did you make this money on your own? And I believe that's how you should do it.
Got you. So yeah, you're
What's your
thinking.
take? What's your take?
Well, yeah. So for me, I'm not legally gonna get married. That would be
Hmm.
my way around it. So I wouldn't need one because I'm just not gonna legally marry somebody. If I marry somebody, it's gonna be in the church, which to me is way more important than what the government thinks. I don't give a
That's
fuck if
true.
the government thinks I'm married or not. That's not the government. Well, who's the government? I care about the church. If I get married, I'll get married in the church. That's more real than a fucking document from the government.
That's true.
And it also protects you from what you just talked about. If you do get, I mean, well, if you get married in the church, you can't get separated. So guess what? I can't get divorced anyways.
Yeah.
So, but now with the agreement. So I'll give you an example. You know them. A girl that I dated, parents separated later in life in 50s. The mother, when they got married, didn't make a bunch of money yet. Hadn't built her business yet. Parents get married. Dad works a normal job. Mother goes builds a big company. Mother kills it, does all these great things. She's making a bunch of money. Boom, they go to get divorced because the mother had built the company while they were married and they didn't have a
Hmm.
prenup. When they went to get divorced, he was entitled to 50% of the business, income, her money. He got alimony, he got child support, everything.
I was gonna say it's not even like one way. A lot of dudes marry into money and then it goes the other way.
And that's what he did. All right. Well, he didn't even. Well, he didn't marry into it. She built it when they were together.
Yeah.
So the argument is in the courts, not the argument that the idea is well, if you built it, wow, the fuck, I just get a fucking subscriber. Oh
Uh,
yeah, who the fuck is that?
Twitcher? A
I don't know where
Twitcher?
that came from. I have no idea. I couldn't see it, but if somebody subscribes, so that's good. There you go. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so whenever they got divorced, he was entitled to 50%. So they built it. No, well, she built it while they were married, but he didn't help her build
Mhm.
it. Now, but that's not necessarily all true because he did help by taking care of the kids when she was out
That's
work. So I get it. I understand the logic as to why that person should get 50%. I agree. I kind of do agree with that. If you're there and helping somebody while they're building, as a gentleman, for you and me, I would still believe that that girl deserves it. Now, I don't want it to be legally bound, but
Mhm.
I morally would make sure I'm taking care of her for the rest of her life, even if we're not together.
And hey, that's the reason you got to really understand who you're marrying. Like, is this person going to actually be with me thick and thin? Are they going to screw me over if something does happen? Let's take a real world example that just happened that went viral. The CEO of
Yeah.
that company that got caught cheating at the Coldplay concert, right? He's worth a couple billion, or about a billion or so, being the CEO of this tech company. Gets caught cheating at the Coldplay concert with his little HR side piece. And now his wife is gonna take half the company and go, or whatever he owned in the company, half his money. Um, so it's a very tough thing. I don't think you should ever get married to be divorced, right? That could change everything, right? You don't want to do that. You should never marry to, one day, oh, I'm gonna have to give it half away. No, you don't think that way. That's not absolutely how you should do it. But
Correct.
it's as situation arises where that kind of stuff happens, and it happens a lot, especially in this country, it's going to be left up to the courts and to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're right. And that's why we have so much divorce in the US is because people go into marriage with the idea that it's not permanent. Therefore, it isn't. But in the old days, when people were religiously bound to marriage and it was considered absolutely taboo to get divorced after you got married, that's why
Mhm.
everybody stayed married because it wasn't an option. When somebody believes something isn't an option, it isn't it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But everybody goes into it nowadays thinking, well, I could if something happens, or if I don't like it, or if I don't feel the fucking spark anymore, or whatever. I'll just leave then, and then they do, and that's why you get all these divorces. So yeah, certainly should never, ever, ever get married to somebody with any intention at all of ever leaving this person. If you're getting married, that's what it is. That's it. You're locked in, player. So yeah, it's got to be the right person.
Yeah, and even like back in the day when you're talking about these religious marriages, a lot of the women, like we talked about before, bringing it full circle now, they stayed at home with the kids. They weren't able to make their own money. Even women until the suffrage movement in the 50s and 60s, they couldn't even have their own bank account. They couldn't even have their own money stored away. So it was a whole different dynamic, right? So if they got divorced back then, people you take their money. I'm lagging.
You remember Ozzy? You see that clip of Ozzy talking about how women got credit cards in um what was it? They got credit cards in I think the 70s or the 80s. They finally got access to them.
That's what Ozzy. Who said that? Ozzy who? Ozzy
Well,
Osbourne?
Sharon Osbourne was talking about how in like the 70s or the 80s, it finally became legal for women to get credit cards. They changed the law, or they took the law away. And Ozzy in the background goes, "That was a good law." Because it's true. They shouldn't have credit cards. They'll fucking run that shit up to Valhalla. So that's what they do, brother. Women like to shop. I got a meeting here in a couple minutes though. So you want to wrap us up?
Yeah. Yeah, great conversation today. A lot of moving parts to world geopolitics going on. Get your money up, not your funny up. Don't be the wise funny guy at the party. Be the money up, not the funny up guy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so exciting stuff coming, especially while we're here in Tampa. My apartment has a podcast room, so I would really love to utilize that. We'll set up some cameras.
Hell yeah.
Get the backdrop going. We'll get it professional for you guys, and we'll keep booming. Other than that, we'll be working. Make sure to check into the Taylor's Code, guys. If you guys aren't already in the community watching, go to the website, link in the description as always. Check that out. Get tapped into the community where we have guys working in on crypto. Priyamo's been dialed into the crypto as we get going here. Hopefully, I think we're about to, we're taking a little up and down ski here over the past couple months, but we're still looking very bullish here this season.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure to tap into the Taylor's Code, guys.
Cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Peace. We'll see you in the Discord. Link is in the description. thetaylorscode.com. Get in there. Let's make some fucking money. How do I fucking do this? Oh, here we go.
Producer.
Mr. Producer.